we are going to have a conversation that a lot of people are going to consider to be perhaps a smidge premature. However, I'm ready to get into it. I'm ready to overreact. I'm ready to make enemies. I'm ready to do what we do here on Tuesdays, because the thing we do on Mondays. Well, on Tuesdays, it's Tiermaker Tuesday, and we are going to do a little ranking of some of the best catchers, or I guess all the catchers. How are we? We'll get to this tomorrow. We're going to rank some catchers, but before that, we do want to propose the question to you guys. If you think Gabriel Moreno is already the best catcher in Diamondbacks history.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just kind of set the table here. I think we can all agree that Gabriel Moreno needs to post for another few years before he could possibly be deemed the best catcher in Diamondbacks history. I think the conversation we're having today is, do we expect that when all is said and done, Gabriel Moreno will go down as the best catcher in Diamondbacks history to date, like sort of up until and through his tenure as the primary catcher in this organization? And there is a fairly strong case for that. I do want to just start, though, with a few numbers from his 2023 season, just to kind of capture how good Gabriel Moreno was in 2023. The guy won a Gold Glove Award, which is a pretty good place to start in your first full season. He slashed 284, 339, 408, 7 homers, 50 RBI. He was worth 4.3 B-WAR, which is very, very good. I believe Adley Rutschman is the only catcher in baseball who is that high. I think he also had 4.3 B-WAR. So Gabriel Moreno was tied for the league lead among catchers in Baseball Reference WAR in his first full season. And that's pretty impressive. Fangraphs, I guess we're being a little selective here. Fangraphs, if you go over to their WAR calculation, Gabriel Moreno is not near the top. Their method of evaluating defense is a big difference there. But I think we can all agree that Moreno was very, very good in his first full season, and especially toward the end.
And obviously, like you said, a big part of this is the fact that he has not been doing it for long enough. And I will concede that point. I know a lot of people are going to say, like, and that's what baseball is. Baseball is a game where what separates the elite players, the excellent players, is their ability to do it for year in, year out. All players are going to go through things. All players are going to slump. They're all going to experience injuries. But, if a player is to be considered one of the best at their position, time needs to be involved. And that's the one thing here that Gabby doesn't really have. But like Jesse said, does he have the potential, based on what we've seen out of him, to be one of the Diamondbacks' best catchers in history? And I think most people would answer that question yes.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
100%.
It's like you'd be hard pressed to find a Diamondbacks fan that does not think very highly of Gabby and isn't very excited about having him as our franchise catcher of the future, right? But we got to see him do it a little bit more. We got to see him do it, and I think we will continue to see him get better. He just seems like that kind of guy. Not to mention the fact that he delivered a cold ass line like he did the other day when they were asking him about throwing runners out.
Why do runners continue to go on you?
Yeah. Yes. And he basically said, I understand it. Teams are trying to win, but I won't let them. He said, I won't let them.
I won't allow it.
I won't allow it.
Yeah.
I won't allow it. That's a cold ass line. So let's get to it, though. Damon, can we get our tier maker board up? Let's get to the tier making. Where are we at? All right. Here we go. Here we have 13 catchers from the Diamondbacks franchise history. One thing that all of these guys have in common, they were all, 100?
These are, we narrowed it down to catchers who have caught 100 games as a member of the Diamondbacks and have also played multiple seasons.
Right.
So
with Gabby being the only one here technically that hasn't yet.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess with the way I said that, Gabriel Moreno wouldn't belong. But Gabriel Moreno is presumably going to play a lot of games in 2024. Yeah, right. So I think we're pretty safe there.
Are we confident enough here to just address Gabby right now and put him in the S tier? Are we putting him in the S tier, Jesse?
You're just gonna go straight there, huh?
I mean, I figure, why should we do Gabby last? I mean, this is what the people want to know. Let's get to it. I don't want to make them wait. I'm not one of those shows. Let's get to this. Is Gabby an S tier catcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
All right, so a few things here. So Gabby Moreno worth 4.3 B-WAR last year, as we just said. With that season alone, he already is tied for 4th in Diamondbacks history in B-WAR after one season. There are three players ahead of him on that list. Chris Snyder at 4.6, he is 3rd. Damian Miller at 5.9, he is 2nd. And then number 1, who I know a lot of people have already mentioned in the chat, Miguel Montero at 13.6. Miguel Montero is far and away the leader in B-WAR for Diamondbacks catchers all time. There's no doubt about that. So yes, if you sort of extrapolate Gabby Moreno's 2023 season out for another 5 more seasons, which is how many he would play before hitting free agency.
Chris Snyder has 2004 to 2010. Damian Miller, 1998 to 2002. Miguel Montero, 2006 to 2014. Gabriel Moreno is an S tier catcher. Period. If he's already caught up to these guys and he's this close.
Yeah, he's not caught up in total WAR, but yes, if he were to put up like 4 more of the seasons he just had based on Baseball Reference WAR, he would be number 1.
He would surpass Miguel Montero, who had more seasons here in that time frame. So he is an S tier catcher for this franchise.
We're doing it, huh? We're just putting Gabby Moreno in S tier.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
I'm doing it. I guess the only thing that would not knock him down to A tier would be the idea there that he's only done it for one season.
Yeah.
Right.
And with
is that enough?
Yeah, and I think that's a valid point, and some people may be angry with us putting him in S already, but I think we all feel pretty confident how this is going to turn out, right? It's, injuries obviously can happen, regression can obviously happen, but the player that we saw in the second half last year, Moreno just got better as the season went on, right? When he came back from injury, you go August 11th to the end of the playoffs, Gabby Moreno /286, 356, 478. Those are pretty freaking good numbers. And you combine that with the defensive player that he is.
Correct.
That is a very, very, very good player. So, yes, we need to see it longer, but I feel pretty confident that he will be at the top of this list when all is said and done.
Of the 13 players here, and this is easy because it's only one season, so it's easier for him to have the highest OPS plus, but he has the highest OPS plus of 104.
That is also true. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Gabby Moreno had a 104 OPS plus last year. And even Miguel Montero was just behind him at 103.
So that would put Miguel Montero moving on from Gabby, probably also into the S tier. Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, wait, are we ranking this in terms of like these catchers in Diamondbacks franchise history, or are we ranking them in relation to MLB? Because I feel like that's 2 different things, right? Because if we're talking about MLB, then I probably wouldn't put Gabby necessarily in the S tier yet. But when we're talking about Diamondbacks franchise history, I think Miguel Montero belongs there.
It has to be D-backs history.
Right. Yeah. That's what I feel like. And I feel like Miguel Montero belongs in the S tier.
Yeah.
Am I wrong there?
No, I think that's fair.
Okay.
You can't put Miguel Montero lower than Gabby Moreno at this point.
Correct.
Maybe there will come a day when Gabby Moreno has actually, showed this for long enough that we feel comfortable saying like, yes, he is actually a step above the player that Miguel Montero was for all those years. But it's definitely too early to do that. Miguel Montero was an all-star and a very, very good player for the Diamondbacks for several seasons.
So next up, the other guys that you mentioned there that are essentially above Gabby and B-WAR are Damian Miller and Chris Snyder. Damian Miller, famously, not in any baseball video games and will never be, thanks to his scab status with the MLBPA. But very good pitcher for the catcher for the Diamondbacks in his time here.
He probably pitched a few innings.
He probably
there, right?
did, yeah, definitely pitched a few innings. But he was just a very good guy. Like he was kind of the definition of a catcher that did his job, kind of like Christian Walker at first base. Like he did his job and he was good at it, but he kind of got overshadowed by the other stars on this team, and Damian Miller didn't really get, kind of the love. Also, the whole scab thing that also probably made his career a little unfortunate for him. But I couldn't even find a picture of him. I had to do a ping myself. Look at this. His head's so big compared to everybody else's.
That's why he looks.
Yeah, he's not part of the PA,
okay.
so you cannot find a picture of him.
Steroid era?
Kelly
Anyone?
Stinnett was also hard to find. What's that?
I said steroid era. Anyone?
Yeah, well,
starting to get some rumors going about Damian Miller because of the size of his head compared to everybody else.
Yeah. Everybody else on this list. Yeah, that makes
sure.
a lot of sense. No, let's not do that. But
it's like, are we making steroid accusations about Damian Miller?
I am solely based off of
the
this
size of
headshot.
his head. 4 seasons for this team, 5.9 B-WAR, 93 OPS plus.
Yeah, Damian Miller was a good player. I mean, you look back at he was just consistently solid for the Diamondbacks in 1998, their inaugural season. He played 57 games, had a 783 OPS, a 104 OPS plus, so above league average offensively. And year after year, he was just right around the 90 to 95 OPS plus range, a solid hitter.
Yeah.
And he also is he did win a World Series, as was just mentioned in the chat.
He did.
That definitely bears mentioning. And defensively, he graded out fairly well. If you just look at defensive WAR, Damian Miller is tied for second on this list, just 0.5 behind Miguel Montero in about half as many games. So I think defensively, at least the numbers look pretty good there. I think he belongs near the top here, Derek. Where do we want to put him?
I think A tier is absolutely fair. I mean, I would be even willing to entertain the S tier conversation, and the only reason why is because, like what you said there, if Miguel Montero is up there, Damian Miller might belong up there, and then you factor in that World Series, and again, Damian Miller was catching 2 legends back there behind the plate, right? So like. Not to mention he was helping Miguel Batista get through some of those games as well. But let's give credit where credit's due. I mean, that was he was a solid defender back behind the plate for this team, and a big reason why they did win that World Series.
Yeah, I think A tier makes sense for Damian Miller. I guess that brings us to Chris Snyder.
Sure.
I think we're having the Chris Snyder conversation. Damon was telling me earlier that one Jacob Franklin was convinced that Chris Snyder was like clearly S tier. Is that what he was? Is that what he was trying to say?
He said clearly S tier.
Jacob Franklin has been put under a spell by his childhood, where he is in a place where Chris Snyder was a staple of his life when he was 10 years old. And he can't get over it.
That nostalgia is a hell of a narcotic, Jesse. It's a hell of a drug to kick.
So I'm between A and B for Chris Snyder. Chris Snyder just behind Damian Miller on the all-time WAR list at 4.6. He caught
88 OPS plus, Jesse.
Yeah, 88 OPS plus. Damian Miller was at 93 during his D-backs days. So the offense grades out a bit worse than Damian Miller. Defensively, if I can find those numbers here. Defensively, he's at 3.6 D-WAR, and he played a few more games than Damian Miller. Damian Miller was also at 3.6. So defensively, they're kind of similar. Chris Snyder wasn't quite as good offensively as Damian Miller. Doesn't have the World Series on his resume, obviously. So I would lean toward B here.
Same.
Okay.
Same. Agreed. Let's throw him in the B tier.
There's not a huge difference between Damian Miller and Chris Snyder, but the fact that Damian Miller the numbers are a little bit better there, and the fact that he was on the World Series team, maybe that kind of puts him over the edge and makes him A tier.
All right, Damon, let's do a B tier for Chris Snyder. That brings us up to Carson Kelly.
Okay.
Carson Kelly?
Well, 2023 Carson Kelly was not exactly a top tier catcher.
No,
but
but
we're already here at Carson Kelly. That stinks, man.
What, we're already to Carson Kelly? Yeah.
Is he fifth?
Stop. Stop.
Yeah,
Is he fifth?
He is tied with Gabby Moreno for the all-time WAR leader on the all-time WAR leaderboard for D-backs catchers at 4.3. Of course, he did that in about 3 to 4 times as many games as Gabby Moreno needed to do that. But you know what? Carson Kelly was not good in 2023. Obviously, came back from the injury. The D-backs were expecting a big boost, getting him back, the veteran presence, a guy who knows how to handle the pitchers and all that. And he just wasn't that. And the Diamondbacks moved on from him, and that went the way that it did. But I think it's important to look at the larger picture with Carson Kelly and acknowledge that there was a time when everyone listening to the show has been a Diamondbacks fan for a while. really liked Carson Kelly and thought he was going to be one of the better young catchers in the game for a long time.
Sorry, Maria's here. Maria's here. I got excited because Maria is back. Maria, we missed you. It's our favorite Dodgers fan. Suck it, Mo. Maria, welcome back to the party. We are ranking Diamondbacks catchers in franchise history, the best Diamondbacks catchers in franchise history. Not to cut you off, I will say this about Carson Kelly. Carson Kelly is one of those guys that came over in a trade, right?
Yep.
A trade we will not discuss again after yesterday. But a trade
well, we didn't really discuss. I guess we did. We did.
we did.
I mean, we didn't discuss the trade all that much, but we did talk about Paul Goldschmidt and said. Anyway, I'm not gonna.
I said
say
we're not
anything.
gonna address it. We were moving on. The point being, though, is that Carson Kelly is one of those guys that made an immediate impact and then was never as good again as he was that first season when he came over and joined the team. And I think that the recollection of his time with the Diamondbacks is based on the fact that when he came over, this, like, and I hate to say this, but this could be like Gabriel Moreno, right? We have that first season where he's so good and we're already ranking him as an S-tier catcher.
Yeah.
And then we see a massive drop off. And then we never, perhaps in his career, ever see him have as good of a season as he has that first year. Carson Kelly had a 826 OPS in his first season with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
And he played a lot. He played in 111 games. That was the most games he played in. And that was his highest OPS. It was his highest batting average. It was his best season. And then everything after that was kind of mediocre. The 2021 season was fairly good. He slashed 240.
He was pretty good in 2021.
Yeah, 240, 343, 411 with a 754 OPS. But outside of that, he was never really better than league average, if even that, right? So, like,
yeah.
Carson Kelly is a guy I think that we like a lot. And Carson Kelly was a guy that I think we did see as our franchise catcher. But when you are taking a look at the way that this, historically kind of stacks up, I have a hard time putting Carson Kelly above kind of a C-tier catcher for this team.
Yeah, I mean, the full body of work from Carson Kelly offensively is really not as bad as people probably think it is. He had a 713 OPS altogether with the Diamondbacks and a 92 OPS plus. Like, for a catcher, you'll take that, right? Like, that's not bad for a catcher. And, I don't think Carson Kelly was ever defensively the guy that people maybe hoped he would be when he was coming up in the Cardinals system. The narrative was that he was going to be a very, very good defensive catcher, and it was just a matter of getting the offense to be enough. When in reality, it almost played out the opposite, where his offense was really an asset at times. And defensively, I don't think he was bad, but I don't think he was ever a well above average defensive catcher. He was kind of just average, maybe a little bit below average. Well, probably below average defensively in what we saw last year. So going back to the tier list here, I don't think I can put Carson Kelly lower than B. Okay. I think looking at his numbers compared to Chris Snyder's numbers,
if Chris Snyder is B, then yes, I agree that Carson Kelly should probably be B.
Yeah. Right. On a rate basis, Carson Kelly was producing WAR actually at a better rate than Chris Snyder, and he also had a slightly better OPS plus in his time with the D-backs. So I think it fits well with them in the same category there.
Beef Wellington Castillo.
There you go.
I got a hashtag going called Beef Mode when he was a part of the Diamondbacks that the Diamondbacks started using.
Well, of course, everyone was aware of that.
I was fairly.
Jesse and I remember.
That was good times, good days. Neither one of you remember. Do not play.
That was
that
took the world over.
But because of that, he's an S-tier catcher. No, I'm joking. But Wellington Castillo didn't play for the Diamondbacks for very long, but he did made, I think, a pretty significant impact on this team in a short amount of time. He had 100 OPS plus. 3.6 BWAR in 2 seasons, and again, really came in and was just a lot of power behind the plate for this team.
Yeah, he could hit, man. The defense with Wellington Castillo is never that was never the selling point, right? But Wellington Castillo is a Diamondback /261, 320, 452. His OPS plus was right at 100, which for a catcher is pretty good to be a league average hitter. He hit 31 homers, drove in 118 in 193 games in the 2015 and 2016 seasons combined. So yeah, he could hit a little bit. Technically by OPS plus, he's the 3rd best catcher in Diamondbacks history, at least for those who meet the criteria to be on this list. Miguel Montero and Gabby Moreno are the only two ahead of him. So yeah, I don't know. Where do you think that puts us? What do you want to do
I
here?
want to put him in the A tier, and I think you're not
You
going to
want
let
to put
me
him
do
in the
that.
A tier?
I want to put him in the A tier.
What?
I don't think you're going to let me do that.
I don't know.
Is this crazy? Am I crazy?
That's insane.
Well, okay, then B.
So my initial reaction is that's insane, but Wellington Castillo put up 3.6 WAR in 193 games. Carson Kelly put up 4.3, but in 384 games.
Mm-hmm.
So Wellington Castillo was actually on a rate basis
Give
a better
me
catcher.
Wellington Castillo
Longevity,
in the A tier.
longevity has to mean
Give
something.
him in the A tier. We have Gabby Moreno in the S tier. Don't talk to me
I don't
about
think
longevity.
we can't put Wellington Castillo in the A tier.
Oh my
I don't
God!
think
You
we
just
can.
said it.
No,
You just said if Carson Kelly got that WAR in double the amount of games, why not? Why not? Why not? Explain to me why not, and explain it to me like I'm 5.
That's why you're still talking when there's pizza here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh.
We don't want to be Craig. It's against our will. We're being held here against our will.
Craig's telling us there's pizza here, and he's not letting us go eat said delicious pizza. But
I just don't think that Wellington Castillo
Stop
was
even putting him in the C tier,
respected
Damon.
enough defensively for me to put him
Piece
in
of
the A
crap.
tier.
All right, fine. Then put him in the B tier.
I think we
Get
have
him
to put him
out
in
of
the
the
B tier.
C tier now. All right.
But yes, for those of you saying like you're ranking some of these guys really high, I guess we should reiterate we are doing this relative to other Diamondbacks catchers.
Correct.
Like we're not. Yeah, I'm not here to say that Wellington Castillo was like a great catcher necessarily, but from what we've had over the years in Arizona, I think B tier is pretty fair.
It's insane that there's 3 good players on that entire list. I just have to say
Yeah.
that longevity does have to matter. Like Wellington Castillo played 2 seasons for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, that's another.
I don't really care about the
case,
rate basis when you've played such a little amount of time.
Sure,
How long have you
that's
been
fair.
A Diamondbacks lifer?
here? No. Here.
Within months
With
of my
this company.
my birth.
What is he talking about? I don't care. We just said we don't care about what you did on other teams. Just on this team. Just on this team.
This was my rookie year was on this team.
I know.
All I've ever done was on this
I
team.
know. I know. You got a lot of Roy votes for sure. But all right. There's a lot of guys on this list that I think just belong immediately in the D tier.
Okay, all right.
Can we just do that? Can we
Sure.
rapid fire?
Sure. Who
Rod
do you want?
Barajas?
Yeah, that's probably fair.
D tier.
Yeah, he's well into the negatives from a WAR perspective. Minus 2.1 on Baseball Reference from
Sorry, Rod.
1999 to 2003. He just couldn't hit, man. A 591 OPS, a 48 OPS plus.
48 OPS plus.
You know, defensively, I think fairly well respected there, but offensively, you know, for that era, a 591 OPS was pretty. That's pretty rough.
I hate to do this because he's a great baseball name, but Tuffy's got to go in D2. Another negative WAR guy, negative 0.6 WAR, an even lower OPS plus, 41 OPS plus.
Yeah, tough. Yeah, you're right. Great baseball name. Some cool moments along the way for sure. But yeah, he offensively, he really never. He has the lowest OPS and OPS plus on this list by a fairly considerable margin. So yeah, he's definitely D tier.
It's shocking that he caught over 100 games for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not
Or
exactly.
no, he didn't catch over 100 ever. Oh yeah, he did. Not in a single season.
Yeah, not in a single season, but total he was at 126 games. So
Sure.
yeah, I mean Tuffy was really he was really a backup catcher at least the majority of the time. You know, if Tuffy was your frontline catcher, that probably wasn't a great sign.
I have one more D tier catcher.
Who do you got?
Alex Avila for disappointing me. Was Alex Avila not a huge disappointment as a member of this team? Did he not come over and look like he was going to be one of these A-tier guys and then just completely disappoint? Not with the sound of his beautiful gravelly voice, but just in general with his performance.
Yeah, so Alex Avila, people will remember the 2018 season in which Alex Avila hit 165.
Yes, we will.
And,
always. Now, then, and forever.
And right, that was when Gambo would come on the radio every single time that Alex Avila was in the lineup and scream, "Why is Alex Avila playing today?"
Yes,
that whole thing.
Yes, that was a good bit.
Yeah, but people forget that in 2019, Alex Avila, only 63 games, but he had a 774 OPS. He actually bounced back pretty nicely the next year. much to the chagrin of Diamondbacks fans who wanted nothing to do with him at that point.
His own father didn't want anything to do with him. He traded him to us. You know that.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think I'm a little hesitant to put him in the D tier, I guess is what I would say, because I think offensively the numbers are clearly better than that of Tuffy Gozawish and
I guess
Rob
since we don't
Ross.
agree, we'll leave it up to Damon.
Sure, yeah, Damon, what do you want to do?
Get your input in on this?
Yeah, for sure. So I was thinking about making a new tier.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
Because this guy is so bad at baseball that I thought that he deserved his own special tier.
Yeah.
So we're gonna add a row below.
Okay.
And we're gonna
What are you gonna call it?
Hell.
The hell tier?
Wow,
Huh?
wow, that is disrespectful, Damon.
And-
that is disrespectful.
And we're gonna that it moved the D tier there. I did the
Yeah.
same thing last time.
Yeah.
But it's nice and simple here. Look at that.
Okay.
There we go. That
Okay.
seems to check out, I
it
think.
doesn't feel right that hell is yellow. That's a little.
Yeah, but
doesn't track.
what should it be? Blue?
Well,
Like
red
if
is S is red.
S is
Yeah,
red.
that's true.
right?
You're right.
All
Red
right.
is kind of reserved.
I don't know what color it should
Can
be.
I change the color here? Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you got a little black action. Yeah, yeah.
You can't even see the letter.
It's fine. He can fix that part.
Sure.
He'll fix that part. Get
Whatever.
A little white, maybe a little red. I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah,
This
white,
is stupid anyways. This is dumb. Who cares? There you go.
Thanks. I appreciate it. All right. We got Kelly Stinnett. Again, another guy that was part of the Arizona Diamondbacks World Series team. C tier, D tier. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I think C probably. I would say a step up over Tuffy Gozawish and Rod Barras for sure. Stinnett is actually 5th on the WAR leaderboard, behind Montero, Miller, Snyder, and Moreno. 2.5 BWAR over kind of a long period of time from 1998 to 2005. It wasn't necessarily playing a ton of games every year, but we had a 724 OPS and 84 OPS plus. I think C is probably the right spot.
Here's a guy that a lot of people don't remember, but Chad Moeller for this team.
Yeah, there you go.
Very good. While he was a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks, 94 OPS plus, 1.4 BWAR. Not great, I guess, defensively, but pretty good offensively. I know he had himself at least one very good season with this team, but just forgettable. Like, just not a name that a lot of people, I think, would even remember as being part of the Diamondbacks at one point.
Yeah, it wasn't a particularly long tenure with the Diamondbacks, I wouldn't say. But yeah, Chad Moeller was another guy who's very, very respectable, right? I would lean C there as well, I guess.
All right.
Does that seem fair?
Yeah, that seems fair to me. All right, we got 2 guys left on this list, Robbie Hammock and Jeff Mathis. Jeff Mathis is another guy that really, really struggled offensively.
Wasn't a great hitter. Yeah,
Not a great hitter, but a very, very good catcher. Like, got praise left and right from the pitching staff.
I think Jeff Mathis was so good defensively that, he's not in the D tier with Gozawish and Barajas, even though his offense would put him in that category. He's at least C for me. You could maybe argue B just because of how good he was defensively. So I think I'm between those two.
All right, last but not least, Hambone, Robbie Hammock. Not good offensively, not great defensively, but man, Diamondbacks fans sure do love him.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. I mean, an 81 OPS plus, that definitely better than a lot of the other guys here.
For sure.
0.9. Sorry, I'm just looking at DWAR. It's not a terrible number for DWAR in 182 games.
And he was a part of this team for a long time, from 2003 to 2011. Again, another reason why he's kind of beloved there by Diamondbacks fans. There's that longevity you were talking about, Dame Dog.
Agreed.
Yeah, he played 2 games in 2011 and 1 game in 2006. Nothing in 2005, 2009, or 2010. So it's 100.
You're really splitting hairs now.
182 games split between a lot of different years. I mean, he was in 2003. People forget how good Robbie Hammock was in 2003.
Yeah.
282, 343,
Yes, that was the season I
477.
was talking about.
He had a 105 OPS plus there. Wasn't quite the same. Wasn't quite the same the next year.
Elise, known baseball GM, says A tier for catching the perfect game. He did catch the perfect
That's
game.
fair. That's
I mean,
fair.
that the leap into the arms, that was a pretty good leap.
Yeah, the leap in and of itself.
That might bump him
it's
up a
probably
tier.
S tier, right?
Yeah,
I think he's
that's an
automatically
S-tier
S
leap,
tier
for sure. So how do you factor that into his grade? Maybe C?
I have to look at it again.
We put Jeff Mathis in C.
Yeah,
I feel like Robbie
I'd
Hammock
put him in
belongs
C. I'd put him in C.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Where
There's
would
your
you
definitive
guys-
ranking of Diamondbacks catchers.
Where would you guys put Chris Iannetta if he qualified?
Yeah, Chris
11
Iannetta,
games away.
we definitely have to give Chris Iannetta a shout out. He
Oof.
didn't quite meet the criteria here. I think he caught 89 games with the Diamondbacks. He didn't quite reach 100.
Just shy.
He was really freaking good
Yeah, he
in his
was.
1 year with the Diamondbacks. So I would be, I mean, I guess there's the whole longevity thing. He was just here for the one season. If
Yeah.
he had been here for 6, I'm not quite sure he could have maintained.
254, 354, 511 with an 865 OPS.
Yeah, he was a really big part of that 2017 team.
Yeah.
He'd have to be at least B. I mean, I think he clearly has to be at
Yeah.
least B. You could make an argument that he was really an A tier catcher for
Yeah.
the one
Yeah.
season that he was here. So he definitely deserves a shout out. Dalton Varsho, I think, deserves a shout out as well. He
We wouldn't have Gabby without him.
He did not catch 100 games with the Diamondbacks, but if Dalton Varsho, if the Diamondbacks had made the move from outfield to catcher and actually committed to Dalton Varsho, I guess not really made the move from outfield to catcher. He really made the opposite move. If he had just stayed at catcher and the Diamondbacks had remained committed to that, Dalton Varsho would probably be a pretty good player. I think it was clear why that decision was made, and I think it made a lot of sense to move him into the outfield. He's so incredibly good there now, but he'd be a pretty good player. Like he would probably be, I would say, up in the B tier on this list at least if he had stuck at that position and gotten better at it. But yeah, he caught, Cogs is saying 82 games in the chat, so he didn't quite meet our threshold here either.
Also, he's an outfielder.
He's a really, really good outfielder.
He's a really, really good outfielder.
Yeah.
That's what he is now. Well, we appreciate your guys' input. Tim says he's bringing up Barajas' home run. Look, we're not doing this over one good game. That the man
Rod
had. We're not doing this. I'm just telling you now. But
-2 WAR during his D-backs career. It's hard to put that very, very high on the list, but there were some good moments along the way for sure.